Welcome to Wine by the Case.
where we uncork legal insights one bottle at a time.
So we did feel like that we need to jump on here and touch upon what's going on in Minnesota. It's been highly publicized. I think probably on the planet knows what's going on, but we wanted to talk about something that is kind of an offshoot, I guess,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of protests
Mhm.
because of what happened, in my opinion, the murder that took place by the ICE agent. And obviously, just nobody has been charged to this point. I do hope that that officer is ultimately charged with murder, because I do believe, my opinion, that there is a basis for him being charged as to what has come out in the video. But we want to talk about what's going on. There are protests, and we know that, the president believes that those protests should not be happening and is sending various governmental,
More ICE enforcement. Yeah. They're sending
and
more and more people.
I believe the National Guard. And so what has recently happened, and Chris is going to go into it, there was why don't you tell
Yeah,
what's
so
going on so we can discuss it?
we all, and I hate to use the word doom scrolling, but I feel like a lot of that is doom scrolling. But there was a recent video that really got my attention over the weekend because it was a suburban middle-aged woman in her yard of her house. Okay.
Us?
House. Yeah, us. And it looked like a two-story house. It looked like a nice house. It wasn't in any sort of area that you would think that, people were stomping up and down the streets and protesting. It looks like a neighborhood. And she's in her yard. She's not filming herself. Someone else is filming her. That's how I know what she looks like. I think it was a neighbor. And there are 8 to 12 ICE officers in her yard.
In her garb,
And
masked,
masked, the whole bit.
the whole nine.
She came off of her little porch and she's saying to them, "You do not have permission to be here."
Calmly.
Calmly. She is not screaming. She's not saying fuck. She's not doing all those things. You see that, oh, well, no wonder people got excited. No wonder people said, no, that's, you need to take it down
It
a level.
escalated.
She was not escalating, but she was being very firm in, you do not have my consent to be here. You do not have
On
my
her
permission to
property.
be here. On her property.
Right.
And she said, "Do you have a warrant?" And she was told, "We don't need one." She said, "You do. This is my property. This is my private property. I am telling you, you are trespassing. Get off my property." Never screamed at them. Just continued to engage, saying, "You don't have my consent. You have no ability." No,
Was there an actual protest that was
Didn't see one.
on that street in the video?
Didn't see one.
Okay. Were there a lot of people that were on?
There, with the amount of ICE agents that were in the
Minus
yard,
the ICE agent.
it certainly caused attention. Because,
Right.
again, no one seemed to be trying to get into her house. No one asked her to go
Right.
into her house, at least on this video. It is somebody sitting there in their outfit they'd wear inside their house on a cold day, in their yard, saying, "You do not have permission to be here." Now, she's saying this repeatedly. "You do not have permission. You're trespassing." And she's being told, "Yes, we can be here. We can be here. No, get out of the way. We can be here." And she's going, "But this isn't right." Now, there's no state police there. I know Governor Walz was trying to call that in to try and keep the peace and de-escalate a bit, but she wasn't escalating. They take police tape out and create a perimeter in the middle of her yard.
Not ICE tape, police tape,
Yellow police tape.
and crime tape.
It's yellow. I mean, they're starting to go across, and she goes, I can't believe this. You do not have permission to be here." And then they start saying to the other people who gathered, "This is now an ICE perimeter. Get back." And she's like, "This is my yard." So she felt helpless. You could see she was upset that this was going on in her yard, that she didn't invite it. She wasn't out in any way trying to be part of the action.
She wasn't a protester, and it didn't appear from the video that she was trying to protest anything.
No, she
Other
come out
than
of her
the
house
fact
to
that
say,
she
"Get off my yard."
didn't want someone on her
So-
property.
I'm going to ask, because, my co-host here has been on numerous court TV and law and crime and things like that. What could she have done differently, if anything, at that point? What rights does she have in her own yard?
And she is correct that you have right to trespass people. People do need warrants. But the problem is, if you are dead, proving your right, isn't going to do you very much good.
No.
So, I mean, staying calm was good.
Yeah, she stayed
Expressing
calm.
her rights, calling the police to come out there. You tell someone that they're not allowed on your property, and you clearly state that and you ask them to leave, then they are technically under state laws trespassing.
I think that's important under state law.
Right. As well as if a police governmental agency does not have a warrant to come on your property and you are not consenting,
She's obviously not.
clearly was not consenting to them being there, then they are to leave the property. And by the way, it's not an ICE warrant. They need a judicial warrant signed by a federal judge, or if they happen to get one signed by a state judge, but I highly doubt that was going to happen.
Right.
They never showed in the video any type of warrant. And
basically she was told, I need a warrant. You can't be. Nope, we don't need a warrant.
So I don't, this comes up, Chris, because do they truly believe? Because we have a problem with training.
Yes.
They are just randomly getting these people that don't necessarily have any type of background,
right,
and they're not appropriately training them, and they don't. So do they not know the law, or are they being told that they don't need a warrant, and then they're going out and doing these things? And in the end, and I do believe this, we are going to have a litany of cases that do come out, civil rights cases that are filed in civil court that come out, and there's potentially going to be monetary compensation for these people, as well as federal judges, which we've had, that said these actions are in violation of the Constitution. I'm hesitant to actually say what should someone do, because here's the bottom line. We've got hotheads with guns that have not been properly trained. In my opinion,
training is important, and it's not happening.
And it only takes one hothead that ends up taking a gun out in that situation. Thank God it didn't happen, and just shoots her dead on her step.
Right.
So what you should do and your rights under the law in this situation are much different.
I mean, there's so many things that are happening, but I am going to go back to the training issue, because one of the things I get frustrated is people say respect law enforcement. Yes, you should respect law enforcement.
But wait, they're not law enforcement. They're not law enforcement
because they have not had the same level of training.
Well, they're also just not law enforcement.
but again, that notion of what is law enforcement, people say respect it. I said, I do. But if you haven't been trained and you don't understand the notion of de-escalating.
And that's one thing, when you have a police brutality case, the whole hinges in trial on, did they follow the standard, and did they follow that individual department's protocols? And they bring in police experts that say, in this situation, you should have de-escalated, you should have done this, this was appropriate.
Right.
And that's what
your training.
That's
your training. And so this notion of how many people are hiring to try and have this enforcement effort, they're not using the protocols and training. So for instance,
there are protocols that potentially they could be brought up on in violation of those protocols.
I think they could.
So I think you need to clarify, because ICE has just now come up, and your husband did immigration law a long time ago.
It's a law since '96.
But I'm just saying, well before this administration.
Yes, he dealt with ICE a long time ago.
And so I think a lot of people do not understand or did not have knowledge that ICE has been around for a long time, operating in the United States.
Yes.
And the difference between Trump and post-Trump, what is the big difference that
again, you didn't have the number of people. I mean, the number of people who are now employed by ICE. Now, remember what ICE stands for: Immigration Control Enforcement.
Right.
They've always had enforcement rights. It's just those protocols related to making sure people had due process to a certain extent, making sure that people were trained to understand. You have to allow somebody the opportunity to get their papers for you. If you're going to say, we're going to...
Okay, let's just go to the papers. Let's go to the papers right now.
Let's please do. Yep.
As a U.S. citizen, I have a real problem with the fact that I have somebody demanding papers. And I know this is a trigger for a lot of people, but it screams to me like Nazi Germany.
It screams
to me like Nazi Germany. Give me your paper. As well, in the United States, there is no obligation to carry papers.
Right.
There is no obligation to produce papers on demand.
Right.
So they can't, in other words, just be like, stop you for no reason at all and be like, show us ID. But what is even crazier, because there was an immigration attorney that I saw when I was doom scrolling about her U.S. citizen, born in the United States, was detained by ICE, and they are moving them. This is the thing, they move them, and she's trying to get.
Always have.
But born in the United States, this isn't someone that wasn't born in the. And what I'm so, and I'm getting heated, really frustrated is this. Once again, this is a Nazi Germany mentality. Like, okay, that's never going to happen to me. So it doesn't matter that our laws are not being followed, because all of these litany of reasons, that is a very slippery slope. I mean, I can't even wrap my mind around how a U.S. citizen is okay with being, unless you think it's just not going to happen to you because you don't look the part, being stopped and asking for your papers and having the fear that you have to walk around with your passport, which I think that was put out there too. Here's the bottom line. I don't know the percentage, maybe Chris says, a lot of Americans don't have passports. A lot of them don't. And I have a passport. Here's the thing. I shouldn't have to walk around with my passport, just like I shouldn't have to walk around with my driver's license unless I am driving my car. And back in the day when I wanted to get into a bar, now I don't normally get carded for that. I did get carded for that, and I started to laugh. I forget where I was in an airport actually, and they were like, "We need your ID and to get a drink in the lounge." And I went, and he goes, "No, I'm being serious."
Like, happily.
He was like, "Oh, we have to card everybody. It's not your age," which didn't make me feel happily.
Exactly. They had a recent one, and please know they had a huge enforcement effort in Orlando over the weekend. But what I think is important is that one of the videos I was watching from Minnesota, ICE agents came up to this gentleman's car and they're knocking on the window. He put the window down a little bit and he goes, "What do you need? We want to see your ID because you have no reason to see my ID. I am simply in a line of traffic moving forward.
Right.
I'm not giving you my ID. You have no reason to see my ID."
Right.
He was calm. And like they said something else, "Well, you don't understand the law." And he goes, "I do. I've done nothing. Tell me what I've done that you're required to see my ID." Now, again, he was in a line of traffic. There's nowhere he could go. So this notion of, well, he was blocking traffic or all these other things that they could say wasn't happening here.
Well, the good thing is there's video, because otherwise they would be making up a lot of stuff that was going on, because what's going to go down with that, what I have labeled a murder, in my opinion, we have the video and it is coming down to the video. If we did not have the video, then so thankfully we do have video to show that he was calm, he didn't do anything and all that.
And again, that notion of throwing flashbangs into cars and all of these things are happening.
Well, now the federal judge has said that they cannot do that.
But that notion of, we're a nation of laws. We're supposed to be bound by them, which leads us to our wine.
Yes. Which is
bound.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
I do, because this is from the Alexander Valley in California, so outside of Sonoma. What I thought was really interesting about it is, it was rated, I got this one actually from Total Wine. It was rated in the high 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
So, I think it was like 27, because again, as soon as you get into that part of California, you're going to be paying a little bit more than, some of the other ones. The notion of being bound. And so what this company had said was they were bound by their own policies regarding how they were treating the land, how they were doing their harvesting, and how they were treating the people who worked for them. So I thought it was kind of cool.
It's a little earthy for me.
Alexander Valley is always going to be a little earthy. Let me see.
It's a little earthy. I don't like that woodsy. I don't like camping. I want my wine to be earthy or tobacco-y. I don't like smoking.
There's definitely a little smoky tobacco leaf going on, but I get dirt. Yeah. I mean, it's smooth, but
I'm going to give it a 4. That's just my preference.
Yeah, I mean, this is your traditional cab. So I'm going to give it a 5 because that's what a traditional cab in California should taste like. Again, I wouldn't necessarily buy it again to drink at my dinner table, but if you're looking for a nice solid cab from that part of the country for under $30, this is not a bad choice if you like cab. Obviously, we're not big fans of cab.
I do want to say before we do our ending and close, please follow and subscribe. But also, as attorneys, a lot of what we talk about and this whole podcast, other than the wine, is about the laws, applying the law, how the laws apply, and our opinions on situations will come out. But they are driven by our experience and education and reading the Constitution and reading laws and applying them on a daily basis and making arguments. we do ask that you do go and look at the actual law.
Mhm.
Look at the actual laws before you like jump to a conclusion. How does the law actually apply?
And we're even going to go back to a law that was recently mentioned you probably haven't heard about since you were in 10th grade history class, the Monroe Doctrine. So all of this is important.
Are they allowed to still teach that?
Yeah, but now it's the Monroe Doctrine.
Okay.
So at the same time, it's important to know what the Monroe Doctrine is. So maybe we'll talk about that in a future episode. But in the meantime,
Cheers.